My name's Eli Delaney, and I have the honor of meeting some pretty cool people. These are the entrepreneurs, the artists, the creatives, the game changers that are making a positive impact in the people that they meet. And I'm a firm believer that the people that you meet can get you anywhere you want to go. And this show is my way of sharing them with you. It's my way of also helping you meet cool people. All right, welcome back, everybody. Eli here, and today, meet cool people. I have a super cool guy that I got introduced, probably about a month ago, maybe. Cheryl Power, who's been a guest on this show, introduced me. She's like, okay, this guy's going to start a podcast, and he's super cool. You need to meet him. And then we ended up having this great conversation. But just before the conversation, and by the way, if you don't remember, Cheryl was a guest probably 3-4 months ago on the show. And so just like the day before our guest today and I got on a call, another guest of the show, another friend of mine, we're having a cool conversation, Sarah Schroeder. And she said, I got this guy, you need to meet him. He does this awesome stuff with breath work on these Saturday sessions. I'm going to send you the link. And the funny thing, it was like the next day I had this call booked with Dave Gieselman, and he is our guest today. He is the founder of Limitless Flow Breathwork. He's a former professional chef. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. And he leverages the transformative power of breathwork and neuroscience to help individuals and organizations master stress management. So Dave, thanks for coming and hanging out today, my friend.
Thank you for having me.
So let's go ahead and get going. I always find it funny, like the whole point of Meet Cool People is the people that I meet a lot of times in person, and we haven't had a chance to meet in person yet, although we almost did. Sarah and Mark had their event, and I found out that you were the guest speaker for that event here in the DFW area. And I was going to go, and then I had a conflict and I couldn't make it. So we didn't get to meet in person, but we got introduced later. And I always find it hilarious where we have these small circles, like one person starts talking, the next person. And you remember the conversation. I was like, wait a minute, do you know Sarah Schroeder? And you were like, well, yeah. And I'm like, she was just talking about you yesterday. And I hadn't caught the name until you started telling me what you did. And I'm like, that's who she was talking about. So you and I had an awesome conversation. It's one about 3 weeks ago now, maybe something like that. Mm-hmm. Yep. And we had a lot of fun. So I want to tell everybody a little bit more about what is it that you do, because breath work is something we hear about, and it tends to be a lot more on the woo-woo side, but you have taken it on a totally different level where there's a lot of businesses that are actually getting into this and understanding the power of it. So give us a little bit more detail on that.
Cool. And thank you so much for having me. And it's been super cool to get to know you. And hey, cool people find cool people, right?
Exactly.
We attract each other. So in order to understand what I do, you have to understand what I did. And what I did was cook professionally for 30 years in Los Angeles. And kitchens are high stress, high chaos, high performance environments, particularly high end kitchens, which is where I was. And I had to find a way to regulate my nervous system in a way other than sort of the typical avenues, regulating a nervous system chemically, using substances, whatever. I had to find a different way to do that. And so about 25 years ago, I went diving into neuroscience, flow states, peak performance, and I just kind of found myself in the breathwork, mindfulness, meditation practices that really served me. and so I've been, I've been shouting, just effing breathe. It cooks for a long time.
Right.
Slow down your nervous system. And I built a great career on it. And in 2017, I left professional kitchens. And I now teach all of the stress management, nervous system management, time management, task management skills that are required to thrive in a Michelin-starred kitchen to people in industries outside that environment. So I work with a lot of professionals, leaders, creatives, organizations, groups, individuals, and we talk about these really sort of high performance skills based in neuroscience, based in
Mm-hmm.
a really clear understanding of how the machine works, rather than, like you said, some kind of woo
Mm-hmm.
approximation of something.
Right. Well, and I like that approach to it because that's one of the things. Like I tend to dive in both sides. I'm rooted in science, but I've been in the woo woo world, and I like to use that term. And usually my woo woo friends love it because they get it, you know.
Right.
But it's like so many people, especially people that are more corporate or business oriented, they're much more science based. They discount all of that stuff, and so like what you're doing tends to go into that category, but it's like, no, 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 no. This is based off of actual science. And, yeah, how you breathe and how you pay attention to that is critical, honestly. And a lot of times, especially when we're in high stress positions, and even not like intense high stress, but entrepreneurship can be intense high stress sometimes. We have to stop and breathe. And I'd love for you to kind of explain a little bit of the science behind it so people can understand why your brain can react differently and more efficiently when you're breathing properly.
For sure. Yeah. So the when when we are in our stress response, most of us believe that if I can solve the problem, the stress level will go down. If I
Mhm.
can, and that's the entrepreneurial world, it's the leadership world, it's the business world, it's the corporate world, and the way I got into this, I'm a chef, I'm a pragmatist. Right. I love the woo stuff. I love it all. I don't yuck anybody's yum.
Right.
Right. But as a chef, I'm a pragmatist. We either have the steak or we don't have the steak. I don't care what the answer is. I just need to know what the answer is. I got to be
Right.
rooted in fact, right? And so when we are in our stressed state, when we're in our stress response, most of us tend to believe that if I can solve the problem, the stress level will drop. And for a really good evolutionary reason, the exact opposite is true. Until I can lower my stress level, I will not be able to solve the problem. And I'll tell you about that. So I'm going to take you on the Wayback Machine, 50,000 years. You are leading your best Paleolithic life, right? And so you've gone about your Paleolithic day, eating Paleolithic berries and nuts and fruits and seeds, and just having a fabulous Paleolithic day out on the Paleolithic plain. And you're heading down to the water to gather water and wood for your Paleolithic evening, and up pops up a wolf, right? And your nervous system snaps into fight or flight. And because you're not going to take on a wolf, you choose flight and you bounce, you
Mhm.
you leave. Now, and you in that moment, your only job in the world is to escape the wolf, right? And when your only job in the world is to escape the wolf, there are certain things that do not serve you. And so your body just takes care of that for you.
Mhm.
So your body shuts down, slows your digestive system, slows down your elimination, slows down your libido, increases dilates your eyes, increases your respiratory rate, increases your heart rate. So you're getting all this stuff. Because when your only job is to escape the wolf, having to poop real bad, having to pee real bad, being super horny don't serve you. The body
Right.
slows those things down. For the
Got it.
same reason, deep, complex, long range, abstract thinking does not serve you when your only job is to escape the wolf. And so when we are in our stress response, the body shuts down the neocortex and the frontal lobe. All of the executive functions are gone. You do not have access to the highest functioning parts of your brain, which are going to solve your problem.
Right.
The the answer to this is that the heart sends 60 times more information to the brain than the brain sends to the heart. If you want to control your brain state, you got to control your heart rate. If you want to control your heart rate, the one lever we get into that is the respiration. You slow your heart rate, you slow your breathing down, you slow your heart rate down. The brain goes, hey, I thought we were freaked out about the thing. The heart goes, no, you're freaked out about the thing. We're just fine. You're at an 11. We need you around a 6. And once you do that, your neocortex, your frontal lobe come back online. You now have access to the best functioning, highest functioning problem solving parts of your brain, which are going to solve your problem.
Right. And I love it. And it's so funny because if you think about it, like when we get in a situation where we're freaking out, we're stressed out, I mean, I think even back as a kid, if something happens and you freak out, you go to your parents and you're all upset. If you go back and think about it, what's the first thing your parents said? Stop, take a deep breath.
Right.
But as adults, we tend to forget that. And so I find it interesting that the way you just described it, it makes perfect sense of, something that we did as kids. Our parents, I mean, they didn't know the science behind it. They're just like, stop, take a breath. Because usually we're like hyperventilating at that point. They just want us to not pass out. At that point, that's probably all they're thinking about. But at the end of the day, it really is that breathing. And I know, like for me personally, even when I'm stressed out about stuff, or if I'm overwhelmed with things that are going on, I can stop, just close my eyes, take a deep breath, take a couple of those breaths, and all of a sudden the anxiety starts dropping. And it's like, these are not complicated processes, but most people don't take the time to do it. And I know you take it to a totally different level. So I know you have your Saturday workshops, and I had the pleasure of attending one of them, and it was kind of cool. I didn't know what to expect. So I just show up, I'm on my laptop and I'm laying on the floor in my living room. And it was a totally different experience. It's like when you've, kind of describe what does a session kind of, first off, what's its purpose? Like when you do a session like that, and I'm assuming that's a lot of where you're working with clients is the same kind of thing. What does a session look like, and what is its purpose for, what you're doing with them?
So it's a great question, because you talk about breath work and we talk about these things, and it makes sense. But you talk about breath work and people go, it's like Wim Hof, like, I don't know, what are you talking about? And so in a Saturday session, so Limitless Flow is my modality. It is a modality specifically designed to put you into an altered state of consciousness called transient hypofrontality. This is what runners call runner's high. This is what extreme sports athletes call the zone. Surfers, snowboarders, free solo climbers, skydivers, all these people, we think they're addicted to adrenaline. They're not. They're addicted to transient hypofrontality, because when you catch the barrel of a wave, it gets real quiet in here. When you're hanging off the side of a cliff and the only thing in the world is you and that cliff, it gets real quiet in here. When you're, jumping out of an airplane, it gets real quiet in here. And so the Limitless Flow session is designed to put you into that state very, very quickly, very, very efficiently. Academics call this state flow state. And it is a cognitive state where you feel your best, you perform your best, action and awareness merge, and your body and your mind begin processing information at about 100 times their normal rate. And so this session is specifically designed to put you into that state. And people experience huge emotional releases. They can release like years worth of trauma. They can get into places where the challenge that they've been sort of Rubik's cubing in their mind locks into place on them, and they get these huge awarenesses and aha moments and epiphanies and revelations and inspiration. And you experience the effects of flow state for about 4 days afterwards. You can have a huge boost in your productivity, your creativity. It's an amazing state.
Right. And I was going to say, like, for me personally, when I went through it, the biggest thing for me was clarity, like like fog being lifted is kind of how I felt. That was the biggest thing for me when I went through it, which was very cool. It's on a Saturday. I said, I'm doing this thing. Like I said, I had no clue what to expect. You just said, come show up. You're going to get a kick out of this. I'm like, okay, sure. Yeah. And I did. And I was like, okay, after we were done, I was just like, my head was clear, like the fog was lifted. And I think that's something that's really cool, that, especially for those of us entrepreneurs, because most of our audience is going to be entrepreneurs, especially a lot of smaller business solopreneurs and stuff like that. this is something we need to have this because we're running 1,000,000 miles an hour. There's 10,000 things breaking we got to figure out. And we don't stop and take the time to get that clarity again. And so that was one of the things that for me, I thought was super cool about it was that feeling afterwards. It wasn't, to me, it didn't feel like a high per se, but it felt clarity more than anything else, which for me is a great one. That's for me, that was good because I like that. I don't even remember what I did the rest of the day. I think I went and ran a bunch of errands and all kinds of crazy stuff that I normally probably would have just sat there and not done.
Yeah, your productivity went through the roof. You got real clear. What do I need to do? And all of the barriers that typically are there between you and getting all that stuff done were just gone, right? All of that self-talk, all of that, no, I'm too tired, I'll do it later, whatever. All of that was gone. So yeah, you get that clarity, and all the barriers between you and getting stuff done go away, and you experience a huge burst of productivity.
Yeah, nice. And I know that I want to give towards the end. We'll have a chance for people to find out about the Saturday sessions and everything. But I want to ask you, for people that are listening now, like, what is like a daily practice kind of thing that we should be doing that will help us, at least to some level? Obviously, working with you is going to be the best choice, but like right out of the gate, what's something that we can do on a daily basis that's going to help us keep that clarity as best as possible?
I'll give you two. It's the best day-to-day breathing practices that anybody can do for themselves. And I teach several different types of breath work. One of these I will teach that I'll show you is intervention breathing, right? I am in a stressed state. I'm about to walk into court. I'm about to make a speech. I'm about to get on a phone call that is not going to go well, right? I'm activated, right? I am stressed out. I'm having a difficult moment. And this one is an intervention style breath, meaning in the moment, when you are activated, when you are triggered, you can do this and it will drop you out of your sympathetic nervous system. And so you take a deep breath in, fill it all the way up. When you fill your belly, your chest, and your lungs are all the way full, take a few extra sips on top, right? Really hyperinflate the lungs. Hold that for 10 to 15 seconds. And then a long, slow release. 10-second release all the way out. And then do it again. All the way in. Hyperinflate the lungs. Hold. And then a long, slow release. You do 2 or 3 of these and you will notice that you get really calm really quickly. This is called a physiological sigh. If you listen to Andrew Huberman, and you got podcast people listening, if you listen to Andrew Huberman, he talks about this a lot. It is a great technique in the moment to shift your nervous system. The other one, day to day, you can do, and by the way, you can do this in traffic. You can do this sitting behind your desk. You can do this as you're just about to start your podcast and just kind of calm everything down. The other one is called a clarity breath, and it is 4-4-6-2 breathing. Most of us are familiar with box breathing. Inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4, hold for 4. It's real common. And the clarity breath is a little bit different. It's a little bit harder to remember, but it is a better breath, and it is 4-4-6-2. So inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, hold, 2. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. So, and you do this a few times. And like I said, you can do this in traffic. Do this anytime you remember to do it, sitting at your desk, anytime during the day, and you will calm and you will stabilize your nervous system all throughout the day. And those are the 2 best breathing practices that anybody can be in on a regular basis.
Right. No, and those are great. And we'll do a little bit of a PSA. If you're in traffic, don't close your eyes while you're doing this one.
Please.
But I mean, those are great. And I like that. And I remember you did that during the session where that second exercise was like that. It was like, okay, the exhale is longer, a longer, slower process. And I know, the 4-4-4, I've heard that before. I've used that before. I used that years ago when I first got into meditation and stuff like that. And so this was That is great because, it's funny you brought that out as like, okay, if you're getting on a podcast, you're getting, you're going to be speaking, or you're going to have a call that you don't think is going to go well or whatever. It's like, I'm sitting there thinking, okay, yeah, that everybody that I talk to, these are the kind of things that we have, especially so many people. I work with a lot of speakers, and I know I work with a lot of people that are new speakers. And so they're still at that very freak out stage of getting in front of people, whether it be virtual or in person. And for everybody listening, seriously, do this a couple of times before you start. And I do it. I mean, I don't know that I was consciously doing it. It's probably because I've been around this world long enough. I probably did some of it, not to the extent that you do by any means, but I was probably already doing some of it before I get on stage, like I said, whether it's either virtual or in person. And I know that that's what it does. It calms my state. It gets me back to a center point where when I'm ready to start, I'm totally focused. I know what I need to do. Oh, and there's also that thing. I got more air in my body, which caused more oxygen to go to my head, so I don't flake out and forget what I was going to say.
Public speaking is the number one human fear. It is a greater fear than death for most people.
Yep.
But looking at it in a neurological sense, when you do that, you drop, you're triggered, you're nervous, you're scared.
Mm-hmm.
In that place, your amygdala is running the show, not your neocortex, which is why, and you have experienced this, where you got on stage, you looked out into the audience, and English fled. Yeah. Right? Everything that you were going to say, everything that you were going to, I forget who I'm even talking to. I forget. English flees. Right. Everything.
Sometimes you forget who you are.
Right. Yep.
What
am I doing here? I'm now suddenly in front of people. Right. And when you do that, it's because you are in your sympathetic nervous system. You are in fight or flight. And doing some breathing like this immediately before you speak, go on a podcast, whatever, you drop back into your parasympathetic nervous system, and you get the part of your brain back that remembers your speech, that remembers your talk, that remembers who you're talking to, that remembers your name, all of those. You now just gained access to that part of your brain that you're going to need to do that talk.
Yeah, I love it. And that actually leads me to the next piece of this, because I know you're working with a lot more corporations and helping them and their teams. I'm assuming one of the biggest ones would be sales teams, right?
Yeah. Sales teams that have an adversarial relationship, like with themselves. Okay. You have a bunch of people who are trying to get something done for themselves, for the team, and with a great an understanding of the big picture. And there's personalities, there's separate goals, and when you have teams that need to be high performance and are struggling to communicate with each other, struggling to communicate with themselves, struggling to get their message out, having the ability to get really clear and really focused. There's individual flow and there is group flow, and there is 12 triggers for group flow. And so getting a team acting cohesively, just so you know, and some people may not know this, SEAL teams, special operations teams, the highest performing teams in the world, all do breath work together immediately before they exit the vehicle that they are in. Sports teams breathe together immediately before they take the field. Right. If you watch LeBron James on the sidelines, his eyes are closed and he is intentionally breathing. These are high performance skills. And if you can master them, it will take both you and your team a lot farther.
Right. That is very cool. And so how does it, like, if you're coming into a business and working with a team, what does that look like? Because I can understand the one-on-one situation, or you into a group of, like your sessions, your Saturday sessions. But what does it look like when you're coming into a business and helping the team?
I have a talk called First Get Calm and Then Get Clear. Okay. And so we begin with teaching skills, right? Let's teach some really basic state management skills before we do anything. And so I'll do a talk, and then I will lead a group. I'm actually a week from today. I'm going out to a retreat out in Malibu, provided it's not still on fire. I will go out to a retreat, and I will lay down a group of 15 business leaders,
Right.
a team, and I'm going to take them through that same limitless flow session. And afterwards, we're going to start talking about the challenges that they've had in communication. We're going to start talking about the challenges that they're working on, what their goals for the year are. When everybody's clear, everybody's focused, everybody's in that same sort of state, and then working with them to develop the systems that are going to help them achieve their
Right.
goals. Now
Okay.
we're all in the same spot.
Right. Well, and I think, I mean, here's my first thought when you're describing that is that, you've already got, nowadays, a lot of businesses are getting more open to different things like personality profiles and stuff like that, which is great because now people are like, now I can understand why you are so weird to me because we're just different, different personalities. Is like before it's like, okay, I don't get it. Why don't you listen to me? Well, it's because you're not talking the right language. Right. But now, if you get that, we've already got that established. More and more companies are becoming aware and utilizing those tools. But then you get your team together, and not only have you learned how to communicate better, but then you put the whole team into this more aware state and this process where their brain is functioning at a higher level, but you get the entire room doing that. The solution outputs are going to be phenomenal in that.
Right. And it's a source code to flow state, which
Nice.
it just ratchets up productivity. It ratchets up ideation. It ratchets up sort of lateral thinking processes, making lateral connections. And so you're expanding the creativity process. You're expanding the connection process. So you're expanding the innovation process. And when you do it inside of a group, it's very, very powerful.
Very cool. I love it. That is awesome. So let's talk a little bit, explain a bit more for everybody what your Saturday sessions are. Cause I think it's pretty cool that you do it every Saturday. That's a pretty solid commitment right there. Kind of explain what it is. I've already talked about it a little bit. So you come from your standpoint of, who attends, what's different from week to week, whatever you think is important to share on that.
Sure. So the session is 90 minutes. It's about 50 minutes of focused, intentional breathing. We start at 10 a.m. Pacific on a Saturday morning, and it's hybrid. So you can either join me live in Highland Park in Los Angeles, or you can join me virtually on Zoom. Right. And if you join me on Zoom, you're going to want a place to lay down. You're going to want some good. I recommend headphones rather than just a speaker. You want an immersive experience, an eye mask if you can, but you want a place where you can just lay down. I don't recommend a bed. People do it in bed all the time. I find a bed is too squishy to do the work of the breathing. Laying on the floor, like on a yoga mat, is sort of ideal. But whatever, like you're not doing it wrong. If you're breathing, you're doing it right.
Right.
We go through 3 rounds of a focused, intentional breathing practice. I explain what we're doing because what I don't want to happen is I don't want your brain to snag on anything. Am I doing this right? Am I breathing through my mouth or through my nose? And so I go through what this process is going to look like and what you're likely to experience. Your fingertips are going to get numb and tingly, and your lips are kind of get buzzy because of the way your physiology works when you do intense breathing like this. And then we go through 3 rounds of intense breathing, and there's about 11 minutes of focused breathing, and there's a couple breath holds, and there's one hold without air, and then there's one hold with air, and you go through these 3 rounds, and then there's this meditation at the end, and I'm kind of just guiding you through, and you're going into this altered state of consciousness, transient hypofrontality. You're going into flow state. I'm just asking you to bring things up within yourself. What are you working on? What is it time to let go of? What would you like to do? And your mind will kind of answer those questions. I don't need you to do anything. I don't go into anything specific. I just ask you, where where you're challenged, what you're not doing, and what do you need to maybe stop doing. And your mind will answer all these questions.
Right.
You know your answers. As a coach, it's my number one belief is I don't know your answers. I am absolutely certain you do. And my job as a coach to help you see your truth and hear your truth in your voice and see your truth in your handwriting. And that's what the session really does. So 3 rounds of breathing, then like a savasana or suspension at the end. And then I bring you back and sort of encourage you to do some writing and give you some things to kind of take with you through the rest of your day. And at the end, I give everybody a way to connect with me. If you have some questions at the end, if something came up for you and you're like, what was that all about? If you experienced something physically, like, what was that about? This is a completely safe, it's important for me to say it's a completely safe breathing practice. Nobody's ever been injured doing this type of breathing. Every now and then you'll hear a story about somebody, going super duper on like Wim Hof style breathing, and where he incorporates ice baths, and they'll try to do the breath work in an ice bath and drown. Please don't do breath work in water.
Right.
PSA. Important safety tip. Please don't do breath work in water. But aside from that, it is a completely safe breathing practice. So, the caveat I give everybody is if you have epilepsy, if you're pregnant, please don't do it. If you have a heart condition, please don't do it. Talk to your doctor first. Basically, the rule of thumb is if you are healthy enough to have sex, you're healthy enough to do this type of breath work.
Right. Well, and I can say one thing I can vouch for. The fact is, you will definitely get a good ab workout because of it. 100%. That was the first thing that I saw out of it. I was like, oh, my gut was like, okay, that was a little more work than I was expecting today. Right. But it was totally worth it. It was a good experience for me, and I can totally imagine that everybody's experience as a whole is going to be very different from it, which is kind of cool
and different every time.
Yeah. No, definitely. Very cool. Well, cool. This has been a lot of fun. I love for you sharing all this stuff. And for me, it's like I said, I know the basics of breath work, but then getting to experience what you're doing and everything was a totally different level. And I love how you are taking it in and helping businesses with it too, because that's where a lot of us are, where we are running our businesses and we need these kind of things to give us that extra edge to get away from the chaos, basically. So right. I love that. So 2 last questions. It's going to be pretty simple. Last question is going to be the easy one. How do people get a hold of you? But before that, this is the Meet Cool People show. And I always love to ask my guests, what do the words Meet Cool People mean to you?
It's the greatest joy of my life. Right. So meeting cool people is about attracting your tribe. It's about attracting your circle, putting yourself out there so that you can meet the people who inspire you. Eli, you inspire me. We had a great conversation yesterday and around podcasting, and you dropped some great information on me that I would have paid $100 for. I got in a short conversation, and it immediately launched me into action that is now in place in this moment. And so meeting cool people, to me, look, if I'm the smartest guy in the room, I'm in the wrong room. If I'm the most talented guy in the room, I'm in the wrong room. I want to be around people who drive me, inspire me, challenge me, and are people who are aspirational for me. And meeting cool people is that. It's about putting myself in rooms full of people that I want to be like. And Eli, I want to be like you. I want to learn from you, and I'm so grateful for you.
Awesome. No, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. And those great words for your definition of Meet Cool People. Awesome. Okay, last question. Here's a simple one. How can people get a hold of you?
www.connecttoflow.com. It is super easy. You'll get to my website. You'll be able to join a breathwork session. You'll be able to schedule a call with me. Connecttoflow.com. There's no numbers in it. It's just letters. It's easy. Connect to Flow, connect to me. You will find me.
Awesome. Definitely. And I do recommend everybody listening, join one of the Saturday sessions. It's definitely worth it. It's well worth your time to spend 90 minutes on a Saturday. Check it out. It'll make you feel much better than you expect. Very cool, my friend. This has been awesome. Any last thought you want to share?
Yeah, just as a gift to your listener base, if you join if you're hearing this and you're interested in doing it and you're curious about it, you can sign up. Cool People 1 is a discount code. Come try Breathwork for free. I will give it to you. Please come check it out. Use discount code Cool People 1. Check out a session on me, on Eli. I'd love to have you.
There we go. All right. So Cool People 1, use that promo code if you want to join one of the Saturday sessions, and you just get to experience it for free instead of having to pay for it, which is even better. So awesome. Thank you so much, my friend. And with that, let's go ahead and wrap up. It has been a pleasure hanging out with you today. I hope that you had a good time, and everybody get out there. As always, if there's anything I can do to help you out, reach out, let me know. Take care. And that wraps up another Meet Cool People show. Now, if you like what you heard, be sure to give us a like, subscribe, or review so I can help introduce these amazing cool people to even more amazing cool people. And just remember, meeting cool people is just the beginning. You need to have a system in place to follow up with the amazing people that you meet. This is exactly what we do for our clients. If you'd like to see if my team and I can help you, go to followuprockstar.com and check out the case study video to see exactly how we're helping our clients turn casual connections into cash clients for life. Again, go to followuprockstar.com and we'll see how we can work together to turn you into a follow-up rockstar.